Hello, and I'm Marie-Louise, and I am here with Jenny Bush, and I brought her in because we're going to have a little chat and talk all about email marketing, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And what I find really exciting is that she has got a couple of niches, and when you're branding your business and trying to get yourself out there, it's really important to sort of have something that's a bit different about you. You know, what's your unique selling point? And with Jenny, she's got a couple, and that's really, really good. And hopefully it will show you how it doesn't mean you'll lose out on business if you're quite specific in what you do. It just means people can understand what you do and refer to you better. So Jenny, tell us a bit about your business and those two kind of niches that you focused on.
Yeah, so hello everybody, my name is Jenny Bush, and I'm also known as the Equine Business Assistant, and it's kind of one of those niches where everybody goes, oh, you're the horsewoman.
The horse lady.
Yeah, and I started off originally as a virtual assistant when I set up my business, but I'm not a very good virtual assistant, if I'm honest, and it changed the whole way of me running, and now I tend to focus on coaching, mentoring, and in particular with marketing, email marketing, social media marketing. But I am a email accredited, MailerLite accredited expert. So that's kind of one of my areas, because everybody sort of comes to me to ask me about all their hang-ups around email.
Yeah, it's something that I have put on the back burner or blatantly ignored for a long time, partly because I felt that I didn't have enough time to read like everyone else's emails. Sometimes I've received emails or been on newsletters and it's been done badly in the sense that I felt bombarded by it, or been put on it to email lists without like my permission, or so I've experienced a lot of bad practice, and I'm kind of a bit sensitive and didn't want to kind of be too salesy to other people. And I also wondered sort of like, if email marketing's a little bit sort of dead, I don't believe that anymore, but it was something that for a period of time, social media was going so strong. But I've kind of come full circle where I've realized that, you can put something out on social media, but not everyone will see it at that point. The different platforms vary as to sort of how much traction that gets. So I was putting stuff out there assuming that everyone's looking at it, and they don't. And so by having some sort of email newsletter or emailing people about important events or offers means that you can kind of capture both. It's for me, I've kind of had that realization, albeit quite late, and it's now about looking at how to implement it. So we were just chatting before we came on this sort of interview or chat, and saying how I'm using MailChimp, and most people have heard of MailChimp or use MailChimp, but there are certain things and quirks about MailChimp that I'm not so keen on, and a few people have talked to me about MailerLite. MailerLite or MailerLite? MailerLite. So it kind of leads on quite nicely, is that you're going to be sharing a bit of a training that talks about it. So tell us about the video that you're going to share with the group in Lovely Campus Room.
I'll share a little bit about the story of how I ended up becoming a MailerLite accredited expert. And it was because I started my first business back in 2003. And then everybody was like, email. Social media wasn't quite as big as it is now. And that was when the times where the email practices were very sleazy, pushy, very masculine dominated. A lot of the marketing that people teach is quite masculine, and it leaves us women going, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel quite right. And I set up so I had a MailChimp account, and I worked on that, but I had all those mindset gremlins that come with it as well, like, oh, what if somebody unsubscribes, they absolutely hate me. If if I get this wrong, if I make it wrong, it's going to ruin my business. I mean, all the things that you can possibly think about went through my head. So I held on to MailChimp with also a lot of that anxiety and the mindset issues. And because it was still the early stages of email marketing back then, people didn't really understand. Nobody was talking about like, it's okay if people unsubscribe, actually they're not your right clients. And you've got to be marketing in a way that you stay on top of people's minds so that they remember you. And like as you said, like most people go, oh, I don't need email, I do social media. And that's one of the things that a lot of my clients have said to me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, if that's where you want to go. But the difference is, so as you rightly said, when you post to social media, you're lucky if 5% of your audience see it.
Yeah.
Like that's a good statistic. About
and also
5%.
if they see it, doesn't mean they'll act on it either. So at least if it's in their inbox, it's easier for them to find it. So they'll either delete it, or they might file it, or it becomes part of their to-do list or whatever. And even if they have seen it on social media, sometimes you need to you need to be reminded as well, to actually do something or about it.
And so when you're thinking, and when people are on social media, they're there for social, they scroll. Do you know what I mean? They're not there. They're in it. Sometimes they're not even switched on while they do it. They're a bit like, oh yeah, scroll. So as you said, they might not engage. Whereas when somebody opens an email, they sit down to read their emails. You don't do the same. You don't behave in the same way that you do on social media. So you get a much bigger open rate. Like my open rates average around 34-35% of my list open my emails, and that's on each email. But some will open, but the ones that don't open that email might have opened another one. Because I always check, like, if people aren't opening them after a period of 3 or 4 months, I'll just remove them. I don't want a list of people that don't want to get my emails or don't open my emails. And I've surveyed my audience recently, like, what content do they like to get from me? Like, do they like my social posts? Do they like what I do in my groups? Do they like my lives? Do they like my podcast? Do they like my emails? Do they like all the other stuff that I do, like my YouTube channel, Instagram? And actually I got the biggest response was they like my emails.
Okay.
And they open them, and the number of times that people go, oh, Jenny, you like what you said in your email, because it's a bit more personal. I'll share stuff on my email that's a little bit more personal, a little bit more vulnerable. I'll share those stories, I'll share those anecdotes.
Because I'm on your email newsletter, and there's a part of me that is like, oh, I have actually considered unsubscribing, but only because I'm probably not your ideal target market. So there's aspects that I like hearing about, and I think I also appreciate that you do share your like personal, like where you're at, and it's quite motivational and all of that, and very real, which I think is nice. But I also like that, you know, you've got a lot of knowledge around. So there's sort of, I'm kind of in the two minds. And it's not because and I guess that's the thing of not overthinking again when someone unsubscribes. It's not necessarily about that your content's bad. It could be that there's other stuff going on that you're like, no, I just need to not have too many emails, or it's no longer relevant. There can be all sorts of things going on in the mind.
And I think that's really, really key. Like when you set your mind to email marketing, there's a few things that I say are absolutely essential. Number one, you've got to make it non-negotiable that you're actually going to show up. Because like a lot of the times people are like, oh yeah, I've got an email list. I send them an email, then I leave it 3 or 4 months, then I'll send them another email, then I'll get loads of unsubscribes, and so then I think everybody hates me. But it's more that you, like, if you show up that sporadically, people forget who you were, and they forget when they signed up and why they signed up, and they've lost the value. Whereas if it's regular, and so it doesn't have to be like, I mean, I email twice a week, and when it's regular, you stay on top. But for most people, that they'd be like, twice a week, oh my god.
Yeah, and I guess this is the thing of like answering what is a good amount. So at the moment, I'm looking at trying to sort of do a monthly newsletter that I send out to everyone that everyone that's signed up. So I'm capturing my email addresses when people request to join my lovely Camper Crew group. And if they don't want to receive emails from me ever, that they don't have to provide it. And there's people who've signed up through my email landing page as well. And so it's like, okay, well, it's about growing towards maybe what is the sort of more ideal and testing it out. So for me, I'm like, okay, I want to commit to doing one newsletter a month. And so to start thinking about, well, what would I include in it? So it might be sort of what was the sort of best top tip or training around Canva or design, about an event that's maybe coming up, that's like a free one, because I've got a Q&A session each month, and then maybe like my mini masterclass that's themed. So there's a sales aspect in that, well, maybe you'd like to book on to this paid event, but you can also join this free one, and here's a top tip. So I guess if you're hitting the different aspects where you're offering something of value, or that you genuinely think they might be interested in what you've got to share, then it's keeping in mind the content as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got to remember, like, the way that people buy these days is they need as many touch points as you can possibly give them on that buyer journey to build that know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
So email is a great way to do it. One, because if they've given you their email address, they've really trusted you in the first place. They've said, okay, yeah, I'm interested. So if you don't email them, you're kind of doing them it's like you're saying, well, yeah, I've got something for you, but actually, no, I'm not going to tell you. That's kind of what it's like. Well, why have you collected them? And then sort of the other reason is, like, if you just focus on social media, like, there is a good chance that Facebook could shut your page like that.
Yeah.
And then what? Like, I had one client, and there something went wrong with the links to their website, and Facebook blocked every single link to their website.
Okay.
And they relied on Facebook to get their sales.
Yeah.
And I think like 70% of their sales were driven through their Facebook content.
Okay.
So as soon as Facebook stopped that, they were like, oh my gosh. And I said, well, just email everybody and explain what's happened and send them the links. And they were like, oh, we haven't got anybody. We haven't ever bothered to build an email list.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. Whereas with an email list, you own that. With your Facebook followers, you don't. With your Instagram followers, you don't. With your Facebook group, you don't. But email, once you've got that list, you can move it between providers. So you can choose whichever platform you want to do your email on. So I used to say, I started off with MailChimp, I moved to MailerLite. That is a click of a button. Yeah, it's not hard. You just literally go to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to this training that you're sharing with us, because I think that will be the kind of the deciding vote. Like I said, I've had a couple of people who said recommended it, and then if it's your preferred platform for emailing, and you said you've tried all sorts, so you've kind of given it a good go.
I've written emails for people professionally. Like, since I set this business up, I actually specialised in writing other people's emails. I still do write other people's emails. I just don't do as many these days because I'm busier doing the other stuff. But yeah, so I've taken whatever platform they've been on and I've worked with that. But I think a lot of them make it very complicated. And I think if you've already got tech issues, perhaps tech mindset issues, and you don't think you're a techie, or if you worry about sending the emails, you actually need a platform that's a pleasure to use and something that's easy and simple. Yeah. Which is why I recommend MailerLite, because it is super simple. Mm-hmm. And it will also allow you to do auto responders, so you can set up a little sequence that just happens. So a lot of marketing I do is just automatic.
Okay.
So like, I have my regular emails every week. But when somebody signs up, they go through my nurture sequence, and I talk them. I've got like a free mini course, and they might take part in that for the 7 days. Yeah. And it does all that. It does all the legwork. Yeah. for me, and it's really, really important when you think about the stages of a buyer or ideal client. There's like 5 different stages. So there's a point where they have no idea who you are. They don't even know they've got the problem that you can solve, and then you've got to introduce the problem and show that they've got the problem, and then you've got to take them through all those stages. And if you're doing it all manually through your social media posts, it's hard work.
So tell us a little bit about your sort of specialism of working particularly with the sort of equine industry. How did that come about? And that's not to say that you will only work with clients. So anyone who's watching this, if they do want to reach out and work with Jenni, and you're not in the equine business, you can do. But tell us a bit about how you sort of either made the decision to specialise in that area, or how did you fall into that?
Yeah, it's mainly because most of my life I have been involved in equestrian businesses. I ran a charity for 20 years, and I've also worked as a business manager for an equestrian centre. When I left that job, I've also had other jobs as well. I've worked in insurance, I've worked in admin in schools, I worked at a secondary school, I've been a teaching assistant. I've got a whole long sort of list. And when I left that job and decided that it was time for me to go back on my own entrepreneurial journey, because I'm a born entrepreneur, I've always wanted to work for myself. There's just been those few blips where people sort of bullied me into going and getting the proper job, because I felt that was the right thing to do, but they made me miserable every time. And so when I said, right, that's it, line in the sand, left my job, going to start a business, and I set up just as a virtual assistant trying to attract anybody. And it just, like, I sat there for about 2-3 months and I couldn't attract anybody, and in my head it said, oh, for goodness sake, Jenni, equine business, they need your help. So I literally set up as the equine business assistant. I put a couple of posts in a few Facebook groups. I asked them about choosing my name, which was quite uncanny because they chose the equine business assistant, and when I went back through my journals from 3 years ago, I'd already written it down.
Okay.
Which was like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, it didn't even occur to me I'd already had this idea. Sometimes if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I put it out there and I got a client within 24 hours. Just because I stood up.
Yeah, and that's the power of having a clear, having a specific target market, having a clear sort of direction means that you can ask for, who you want to work with, and sort of go from there. So, and it's something that, your target market and your USP can evolve over time. It's something that I've had to find my own. It's not come immediately. So I rebranded myself to the Lovely Evolution because I realized that I enjoy doing rebranding projects, and that I do champion it, that you kind of, especially new businesses, you get started and then you kind of figure it out as you go, because I've been there myself of not having a niche. So I was like you, going but in the design sort of setting of going, well, I can do everything because I'd had such a broad background. I quite like a lot of variety, and it took me time to kind of, when I reflected, to go, okay, well, I really love doing the logos. That seems to be something that I've been attracting since working for myself, and then just sort of looking at how I can stand out alongside sort of my fellow designers, because there's quite a few in Northamptonshire that I network with or people come in contact with, so it's useful to have that. And then I sort of fell into Canva myself. Just sort of again, that was like a client who mentioned it. So I know some people who've been using Canva for like 7 years or something. I'm like, oh well, I kind of only heard about it like 3 years ago. And so it's just interesting, like when I went full time with my design business, if someone said 4 years ago, oh yeah, you're going to be training people how to use Canva, I'd be like, Canva, what? So it can change over time. So I think for people who are thinking about who their target market is and niche, whether it's from a point of view or, like who are they going to do an email campaign to, or just general branding, have one in mind, like really look for one and create one, but don't be afraid to change either, if it evolves over time.
Exactly, and it will. And I think there's a lot of the time people are like, oh no, I've got to have this right. I've got to have this right. And they then don't take the action. And I'm like, but it's going to evolve. There's going to be times in your business where you've agreed to do stuff and then you go, no, this isn't me anymore. I can't. You're going to grow. And that's the whole point of it. So it's about, being prepared for that and not being too stuck in it, depending on, ideal clients, branding, as you know. The number of rebrands we all go through over the years. And I was the same, like last year somebody sort of said to me, oh, you should just go more mainstream because you've got skills that will help any business. And so I toyed with the idea and I toyed with it, but then I'm really passionate about the equine industry, and there's nobody with the skills that I've got doing what I do. So I was kind of like, no, I've got to stick with it, but I do help.
Yeah, because I think when I first met you, you were considering rebranding yourself, so it must have been that kind of sort of time you were talking about. So yeah, no, that's really good.
And I did make a few changes, like my website used to be the equinebusinessassistant.co.uk, but now it's just jennis.com. And I am doing more under my own name rather than as the equine business assistant, so that it doesn't put off people who still feel that I can help them, because as I say, email marketing works for every single business. The stuff that I know on social media will work for every single business. The stuff that I know on business will work for every single business. But just knowing that I've got more insight into a specific industry really helps me, who I'm talking to, and it helps my ideal clients, because they often feel very misunderstood.
Yeah, and it's a very specific industry as well. So if you've got that background, it's something you're passionate about. It shows, and it means that you can talk the same language, as it were. And so it's good if you're able to do that. So for those that are watching and have not, don't know who their target market is, it's a very powerful exercise to really look at that. And sometimes, often your target market is a version of yourself, especially for entrepreneurs and sort of solopreneurs. You tend to be sort of working with someone who's a version of yourself, maybe, or a version of who you used to be. I see that quite a lot, and it's a good starting point, certainly. So
I was just going to say, I think a lot of people as well, when they're looking at their target market and their ideal clients, they're often going, oh, this just feels like I'm pulling stuff out of thin air, and it feels like there's nobody like that. And again, you've got to watch the mindset, because a lot of the time there is people like that. And I did it with one of my clients. She said, oh, can we work on my ideal client work? And we went through it all. And I asked her some specific questions, and she went, oh yeah, works in a bank, lives in this sort of place, husband is this, and so okay. And she said, oh, this just feels silly, it just feels like I'm making it. And I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you, I actually know somebody that ticks all of those boxes. Sometimes you've just got to have faith that you're given those insights.
And when you're looking for something, you're more likely to spot it as well. It's sort of like the law of attraction, and all of that can come into play. But also, on like the subject of target market and tying into sort of email marketing, is that you can have more than one target market. So yes, it's good to have at least one specific one, but you can have multiple ones. Like I can, for example, for myself, like my Canva kind of target market is quite different to who I would target for like a branding, and particularly rebranding. And certainly I'd like to do more work around marketing around my branding services, but at the moment I'm focusing more on Canva. So who that would work for is, they're not necessarily the same, and that's okay. And that's where sort of being able to segment your audience and having different tags means that you don't have to send the same email out to everyone. You can be really specific in speaking to a particular sect in your audience. So don't be afraid to do that. And that's the power of being able to, again, of email marketing versus say social media marketing, where you might have more of a mix in your group. Certainly, like on your business page, you kind of tend to be like, ask your mum and your friends and anyone who's there, but they might not all be your target market. And again, that's okay if you're wanting to get numbers. but ultimately you're wanting to be marketing to your ideal client or clients.
Ultimately it's about making money, because that's why you're in business. So it's about getting yourself in front of the right people, and email is a great way to do it. And again, then you can use the email list. If you've got the marketing GDPR permissions, you can take that email list and put it onto your Facebook ads, so you can create really targeted specific lists and lookalike lists based on what you know from your email marketing, which is much harder to do from social media. So there's so many things you can do with it.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about sort of how people can work with you, sort of, you know, where can people find you, where can people sign up to your email list and receive your lovely emails twice a week.
Yep, so my main page is jennibush.com, and on there you can find lots of little different things. I've got some online business like mini courses. So as long as you can put up with me talking about horses, you can translate it into anything. That is the one thing that I will always use: horse stories, horse metaphors, to help people understand. So if you really hate horses, don't sign up to my email list, because it will drive you mad. But I am also on Instagram and Facebook as Facebook is Jenni Bush, the Equine Business Assistant. But if you search Equine Business Assistant, it'll come up, and same on Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places. And so the way that I work is I do one-to-one coaching and strategy sessions. So we might have an hour where I'll train you personally on how to get it set up for you, because a lot of the systems work, but sometimes we need accountability, and sometimes we struggle to translate it into our own business. And
I think also sometimes the biggest block is getting started, and if you have someone holding your hand a bit, as well as, you know, it's good, that accountability aspect as well, but someone like, yes, there's loads of tutorials, like stuff online that you could look up, but sometimes you just want a sensible, real human being going, look, just click up there, go there and do this. And this doesn't work really very well, despite, like, you know, them, you know, the marketing of that particular mail platform, you know, it's like you work around it by doing this, so you can kind of have that
that's the thing. And I've got a little email course that's like £27, and it does that exactly, like because a lot of people I knew were procrastinating over email. They felt that they should do it, but they just didn't know how to start. And I said, right, I'm going to walk you through it. And I literally sit there and I create a whole account from scratch on MailerLite, and I'm going, right, okay, we're going to do this next, and then we're going to do this next, and then if they've got problems, they message me and go, oh, Jen, I've got stuck. And then I'm able to jump in and help. But they were like, it was like you held my hand through every single part. And by at the end of the day, like, so you can do it in a day, less than a day, because I made the course in less than a day. So I definitely know that's a promise that can be done. And just over like the 5-6 modules, we work you through from nothing to getting something set up, to getting a really quick landing page done and an opt-in, so you can actually put it out at that end of that day and start getting subscribers. And it really does, like, it was one of the things that I did first of all in my business, is I started to collect emails, and I started to email every single day, and I know that it works for my business. And statistics, I mean, don't have to take my word for it, go and look at the statistics for email marketing. They are so much better than any other way of connecting.
And it's like, even if you still want to focus, or I say you, but like you know, if people in general still want to focus on social media marketing, that's fine. But it's about making sure that you're still covering that base, that it's not to ignore it. You know, have something out there, and I guess that's the thing for me. Like I said, that it was just getting familiar with using, I realised I needed to have some sort of email marketing, or certainly from just being able to communicate my membership details, just so that it was there into their inbox, you know. And now it's like, okay, well, how can I make sure, you know, add value and reach those people? So it's having something a bit more regular on top of just the here's the meeting details and here's the replay. It's that next level. It's a different purpose to me using it, and that's fine too.
And even if social media is your main thing, if you're creating great content for social media, that content deserves eyeballs. You can use your email list to get more people on it, to get more people liking it. You know, you can have the link to that particular post, and you just go to your email list and go, because believe it or not, the short, simple, sweet, one thing to do emails are the best ones that you can write, rather than these massive, long, pretty emails. Send them like you would write emails. So just go in and go, I don't know if you saw this, but I've just done a really good training on, or I've just had this conversation like with Marie, and here's the link, and send them to your Facebook page. Again, you're staying on top, you're using your email, so they're not going to go, who is this person? Why have they just suddenly emailed me out of the blue?
Yeah.
It's not about creating more content. It's about making the most of what you've got.
Yeah, it's about repurposing and shining the light on that information. So like I said, for me, my target is to try and get one regular, like commit to once a month, and then maybe sort of move it to like fortnightly, and then sort of see whether, you know, if it's a weekly thing, or see if I can, I guess, can you do with the with MailerLite, can you do it so that the user or the subscriber can change the settings to sort of the frequency, for example? Because sometimes, like for me, it's like I still do want to receive an occasional newsletter, but it's maybe for me personally, I don't want a weekly one maybe, or if it's one that's like every day, it's like, no, that's too much. Just, can I just have the weekly roundup, please? Are you able to set that?
You could work that out. What I would probably do is I would set 4 different groups. So like one is a weekly group, one is a fortnightly group, one is a monthly group, and ask people their preferences. And you can send them out like an email with a survey in it, and the survey, if they click certain buttons, can move them into different groups and add them into.
So that's where the power of automation can help you.
Yeah, and there's lots of little tricks that you can do with the automations to make that happen, and then you just know when you're emailing, you just select this is the weekly email, it goes out. But so it's about sort of trial and error. But I'd say if you were sending one monthly email and you find that there's a lot of content in it, like if there's a lot to digest, then that's probably when you need to start thinking, okay, I need to split this up and give it to people in smaller digestible chunks, because sometimes we don't have time to read a massive long email, especially if there's lots of different directions.
Yeah,
with too many different options and too many different choices, we'll go, I'm not going to make any.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's only this is one thing, check it out, or don't check it out, they're much more likely to check it out.
Okay.
It's sort of it's like if you find that your email's got, okay, here's a link to 10 blog posts, and here's a link to my podcast, and here's a link to like see this, and you'll probably find that most people will just go or they'll click the first thing but they'll miss the rest, because again they're taken away from it. So just keep the focus on one thing per email. So I can see that point, and I think that's something that I'd like to work towards, but equally it's sort of trying to manage my time and just that getting started thing. But there's lots of things that you can do to make that easier. Like I've just set up I've got an automation that's just called Evergreen, and when I'm really busy I switch that on, and that will do one of my emails a week, and they're all my best emails over the last 3 years, like my absolute best ones that I know people loved. So again, if they've had it before, they won't mind getting it again because it's really good. But again, there's about 50 emails in there already written, so I can switch that on. That saves me time. I've also got an RSS email. So like my podcast I'll just switch that on a Monday. So it will just RSS my podcast every month, every week. So that will save me time. So I could switch both of those on. I would still be getting 2 unique emails every single month, and I'm not writing any.
Okay. So are you so do you cover that in that getting started course?
It's not in the course, but it's really easy to set up. Really easy to set up. And if somebody was really stuck, they could book a strategy session with me, and we could go through actually where like they'll often share the screen and I'll sit there, so it'd be like I am actually holding your hand, looking over your shoulder, going, now just do this, try this, and they'll go, that was because I think we shouldn't allow our own like self-beliefs or our own fears to actually get in the way of our business. We do enough of that as it is.
Yeah.
So we need to be using everything that we possibly can to make sure that we nurture our ideal clients, we take them along that path, and we turn them into paying clients, so we can run businesses that give us the income that we need, so we can go on and enjoy our life.
Exactly. Well said. Okay, well, so those that want to watch the training, that will be coming next week, and that will be put into the Lovely Canva Crew Facebook group. We'll share all the links to sort of how people can get in contact with you, Jenny, sort of in the post as well. And yeah, I'm excited to watch this training myself, just to sort of see the comparison. And I think I might even book on this, the Getting Started in MailerLite course. I think that would be quite good once I've seen the comparison video. It will. I may be going over. I may be switching.
I've had a client that I've been writing for the last year on MailChimp, and every time I go into it, I'm like, oh, I've got to try and work out where everything is again. It's like, you'll see the difference. But say it doesn't matter what email platform you choose or you use. And like one of my clients, she's like, oh, you're going to hate me, I've gone from MailerLite to Flowdesk. And I was like, why would I hate you? I'd hate you if you didn't utilize email marketing and you weren't actually I would be kicking your backside, but I don't. It's not about, it's about choosing a platform that you can manage, that feels easy, that's a joy, so that you look forward to writing your emails, and you can write them easy and you can send them out, and that you can show up really easy without adding extra stress.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's about adding benefit and value to your business. It's not if you really don't feel that email marketing is right for you, then that's your own choice. But it is something, because a lot of people do have that, oh, you should be writing a blog and should be doing this, and it's understanding your own reasons as to why it would work for your business to be doing some sort of email marketing, and whether it's like a top tip, or check out this latest post on Facebook, or training or whatever, or come to this event. It's something that shouldn't be ignored, or at least ignored anymore.
And a lot of people will just go, I don't want to bother people, I don't like getting lots of emails, I'm not going to send them. But on the other hand, I say to them, well, who do you get emails from? Because I guarantee we've all at some point had an email and we bought something off it. We've all had one, and there's all, so we've all got our favourite people that we follow, that when they send us an email, we read them. Like if you've got, you do. So it's about, how do you become that person for your people, and you do it by showing up badly until you get better.
You do it the best you can, and not overthink. And a lot of the
time I will purposely put in, like I joke and I say, no, so I've put all these spelling mistakes and these errors in on purpose, and they're like, oh. I said, no, because I want to prove to you that you can do a bad job and still show up and still make money, and it's kind of a way to help my clients see that I don't get it right all the time, that there are spelling errors and it doesn't matter, and I still have a business and I still make sales, and I still stand by email marketing is a good thing for business.
Good. Well, I think that's been really fantastic to sort of like hear your views on it, and sort of like chat about the sort of pros of email marketing. And thank you for taking your time to have a chat, and also providing your training the next week. So look out for that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.